Now that we built speed on the practice pad, it's time to take a look at how to build speed on the drum set. As I mentioned before, the practice pad has one feel. It's generally a fairly bouncy type of feel, which is great for developing rebound, control, multiple bounce rolls, and whatnot. But on the drum set, we have many different surfaces with many different types of feels. So basically, if I just spent all my time on the snare drum, it's not much different than spending time on my practice pad because they feel very similar. I mean, there's some practice pads out there that are made of like a gum type of material. I think those are awesome. It's like almost like a jelly type of thing. And it's very similar to practicing on a pillow, which we also discussed, which is very good for developing speed with your wrists. Once we get to the drum set, though, it's a little bit of a different situation because we have to move those ideas around the drums. Think about it. If we're just sitting there on the practice pad, wailing away, doing single stroke roll at 300 beats per minute, 16th notes, that's great. What happens if I want to move it around the drum set, though? If I want to move it around the kit, now it's going to be harder because I actually have to go to another drum. The first thing that I make sure of is that my drums are all within reach and they're close enough to one another that I can get really fast. I don't like to have a lot of gaps between my drums. I don't like to have my cymbals too high or too low. I don't want anything to be out of place because that's going to hinder my speed. And this has been changing with me over the course of the years. I think I've finally settled on something that seems to make the most sense for me the way I develop speed. So let me share with you a couple of tips for developing speed around the drum set. Now, first of all, with hands, of course, you can just sit there and practice a single stroke roll and move it around the drum set. Something like this. I would just get used to just going around the kit and try to go as fast as you can over time. It doesn't matter if it's sloppy, if it's out of time, it doesn't even matter. Just try to go as fast as you can until your arms are going, okay, I'm tired now. Something like this. So maybe you can go longer than that. That was just a short example, but try to push yourself. Maybe try to go for 5 minutes at full tilt. I guarantee you'll be covered in sweat and you'll be going, woo, after that. That's a great way to start developing speed around the kit with single stroke roll. You know where everything is. Try to keep an eye on what you're doing as well. I mean, if you're playing like this, you might be hitting rims. A lot of my students, when they're playing, they're either staring at me while they're playing or they're looking up. I try to get them to focus on each drum. You don't have to turn your head, but just simply, have your eyes focus in on where you're going. It doesn't have to be a real physical thing on your neck to do this stuff. It's just simply look around. Where am I hitting? Where am I going? Now, another suggestion you can work on even at midnight. So when everybody's sleeping, go down behind your drum set, and I get a lot of my heavy metal students that want to learn how to play louder. I say, okay, what we're going to do is we're going to air drum as loud as you can. They look at me funny. So, okay, well, first of all, let's get this happening. Can you hear that? All right. So really want to try to strengthen the wrists and the arms here by playing as powerful as you can in the air above your drums without actually hitting them. If you hit the drums while you're playing that loud, you're going to wake your neighbors up if you're doing this at midnight. So I would suggest just doing this a little bit each day. It's a good warm-up too. And so on and so on. So that's a good one too to develop some good wrist speed. The next thing you can work on is trying to play single stroke roll only on your floor tom. But what I want to do this time, as opposed to holding the stick the way we normally hold it, I want to go to the middle of the drumstick. So you're holding it like this. So not only does it feel awkward because of all this weight at the back of the stick, we have no real convincing balance point. Now you might think this is crazy. Trust me, it works. So this is a real wrist exercise. Lock grip, middle of the drumstick, middle of the floor tom. Single stroke roll, like this. So with that exercise, you can see that I'm very much isolating my wrist there, okay? So that's pretty much what's happening there. So I can feel that a bit. I haven't done that in a couple of weeks. I feel it, it's pretty good. So another great way to develop speed at any level. The next one is double stroke roll on the floor tom. The reason I'm choosing the floor tom is because it's the soggiest drum. So if you have a floor tom that's very high pitched, try to detune it right before it loses its tone, so it's very, very soft. Double stroke roll using wrists. You're also going to feel that one in the wrist, especially if you're not used to playing the double stroke roll without rebound. So there, you have to push and pull every single note. That's really what that's all about. So that's pretty much what I do to develop hand speed around the kit. The biggest thing is you have to make sure that everything is set up proper. Now when it comes to foot technique, this is where you're going to have your good days and your bad, so be patient with yourself. Some days foot technique's going to sound awesome, some days it's not. We've got a lot of very big muscles to develop from our hips down, so we have to be patient as they grow and stretch. But it doesn't matter if you're a double bass player or a single bass player. Every drummer seems to want to have a strong foot. Let me share with you one of the secrets. What are these, you might be asking? Ankle weights. I have been playing with ankle weights for quite some time. Not necessarily while I play, but a lot of times while I practice, especially double bass or fast patterns for single bass or for a powerful foot. I went to a sporting goods store and I bought one that's got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 removable weights in it. I've never removed them because I wanted to start off as heavy as I could and go from there. I'm actually looking to buy a heavier set. These are probably, I would guess, around 6 pounds. I'm going to try to find 10-pound weights to put around my ankle. I first heard this tip from Gene Hoglan, who's played with Strapping Young Lad. And if they work for him, they should definitely work for me, and they'll definitely work for you. So ankle weights is a good thing to just get started with to really help develop the muscles in your legs. Because after you practice with them for a while, it's almost like when you go back and practice bass drum technique, hi-hat technique, anything like that without the ankle weights, everything seems so much easier. It's kind of like, oh, the weight has been lifted off and now I can do this without all this extra heavy weight on there. So that's a really, really good one as well. So basically, what I do for the speed stuff is the ankle weights, endurance exercises, try to play as loud as I can, not necessarily as fast as I can, but as loud as I can for a long period of time. So if I'm practicing double bass, if you don't have double bass, you can put your left foot on your hi-hat stand and just play singles between the right bass pedal and the left hi-hat pedal, and just play singles, right, left, right, left, right, left, right, left, something like this. If you play double bass, feel free to put your left foot on your double pedal, like this. Then after you do that for a while, you can go back and try to do the same thing but play heel down. This develops the front shin muscle. You're not going to get as much power, but you're really going to feel the burn in your tibialis anterior, which is the front of your shin, like this. If you do that for 5 or 10 minutes, you're definitely going to feel the burn in that muscle. So you can do that as long as you want. If you find it kind of boring, what I sometimes do is I'll put a practice pad on my snare and I'll just work on something else, maybe some singles or some doubles, or I'll grab a magazine, open up the magazine and read an article while I'm practicing my feet. That's a big one too. Another thing that I've been working on for my feet is a practice pedal by Hansen Foots, which is really, really amazing to develop foot control and speed and power. And not only do I use them on my drum set sometimes for various other applications, as I buy these pedals you can find in any music store, and I'll put them underneath the desk in my office. So if I'm doing some work or checking some emails or whatever, I've got these 2 pedals which have Velcro on the bottom of them, and I put them at the tightest tension. You can change the tension of these pedals. And as I'm answering emails or on the phone, I'm simply playing heel down with on the Hansen foot pedals, and I'm not bothering anybody because they're very quiet, so you're not going to drive your folks or your neighbors or friends crazy. And I'm practicing while I don't even realize that I'm practicing, And then when I get to the drum set the next day, it's like, wow, this all of a sudden seems easier. Last week this seemed harder. So that's a big one too, is the Hansen foot practice pedals for your feet. They're absolutely amazing. So that pretty much sums up the way that I develop speed. We've got a couple of exercise examples that we can play to, and good luck in your journey on developing speed around the drum set.